Welcome to This Just In with This Just In. As your host, JustIN Core always gets a slight laugh from the guest. Not too bad. This is a show where we take a deeper dive into the stories most important to you with the people who bring you those stories. And today's correspondent, get it? The co-anchor for our flagship show, The News at 10, investigative reporter and winner of all the awards. It is Morgan Romero, everybody. By request, actually.
By request?
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually did get some people commenting on my Facebook being like, JustIN should have you. So that's really good that people are paying attention, you know?
Hey, that's awesome. The viewers, the 5 people, and my mom.
And my mom.
And your mom now. That's right. We just got to get all the moms of all the talent in the newsroom watching this thing.
Yes.
Rating's going to explode. And then we're going to get that advertisement deal with Starbucks. Yeah, no
My
big
fuel.
deal. Hashtag non-ad for now. Morgan, thank you for joining us.
You're good.
Really appreciate it.
Yes.
So I always ask this question to first-time correspondents when I remember it. What would your walk-up music or entrance music be?
I've thought a lot about this.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, no, I feel like I have many options.
There's a lot out there, sure.
I think Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg.
That is not what I expected.
Yeah, that's
Way
me.
back,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sipping on gin and juice. Yeah.
Oh, so now I know what's in that Starbucks cup.
But isn't it? It's a banger.
Yes, that's perfect.
It doesn't
That would be
really
awesome.
get people hyped, but it gets the crowd going.
It sets the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is what your walk-up music should be.
On my mind, on my
Well-
money, on my money, on my mind. Anyway.
Yeah, and your mind on the news. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. But first, you were born in San Diego.
Yes, I was.
How was that, keeping it classy?
Oh, man. Yeah, I know, right? I think that's maybe what inspired me to become a news anchor was Anchorman. No, I mean, gosh, San Diego is the best place to grow up as a kid,
Yeah.
particularly in the 90s, because it was booming and... You know, we had the zoo, the wild animal park,
Yeah.
SeaWorld, Legoland was built. We were so close to Disneyland. We had the beach. Like, I did so many sports and extracurriculars.
Yeah.
And I honestly, could not have asked for a better childhood. And I grew up there until I was 12 when I moved here. And my parents were basically like, as soon as San Diego becomes somewhat like LA, we're out. And so they
And
chose
now
Idaho.
Now it's pretty much like LA.
Yeah, truly.
Absolutely. Was it boring there, though? The weather nice all the time?
So boring. So
like
boring.
highs 75, lows 72,
Year
or whatever
round.
it is there.
Don't they say it's summer, almost summer, not quite summer? Well, I just remember when it would hit the 50s and you're on the water, you do get a little chilly.
Yeah.
And we would wear gloves, and everyone wanted to I'm sure the Californians watching can relate. You want to be fashionable and wear boots and with the fur.
Sure.
You know?
Right, yeah. It's my only chance this year to
Exactly.
wear something warm.
But that was great. But you know what? I didn't realize this until I moved here and then went to school in Colorado. It was you take it for granted. And so not every day are you going to the beach. Not every day are you enjoying spending time outside. Your life
Right.
revolves around the outdoors, but you just don't realize it because you don't know any different.
You also got a job in school
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I visited San Diego one time and I was talking to a cabbie there. And I was like, man, the weather here seems awesome all the time. And he's like, no. This weekend, we're going to get some clouds.
Yes, they call it oh my gosh, have you heard Californians say the coastal fog? It burns off. That's the thing. It burns. You wake up in the morning and it's cloudy and cold and you're like, oh, this is kind of depressing. But it burns off.
Yeah. Then you still got the beach right there.
Exactly.
Woof, San Diego, you need to toughen up a little
Yeah.
bit. But you are a local because in
Yeah.
middle school you moved to Eagle, Idaho. What did you think when you first arrived in Eagle, drove through it?
Oh, man. Okay. So I came and visited with my mom before we moved here because she
Nice.
got recruited by St. Luke. So that's
cool.
why we ended up moving here. And we were mostly focused on Boise and Eagle because it was either Hospital, Meridian, or
okay.
or Boise. And I just remember loving Boise.
Yeah.
Loved Boise. Loved. And I went to Eagle. And I was like, gosh, this is going to sound so bratty. But I was 12. Remember this. Okay. I was 12.
Don't judge her too harshly. Yes, it was a different time.
I'm a changed woman. I said, oh my goodness, there's a pasture behind Eagle Middle School. I said, I can't do this, Mom.
do it.
I can't. There's a decrepit barn
Yeah.
next door to the school. I said, what is this place?
What sort of neighborhood is this?
I
They
know.
let cows roam free? Yeah. By the way, not anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk more about that, but I mean, now it's such a a beautiful thing, and it adds such
Yes.
character to where we're from, and I really cherish and value that.
But you moved in middle school. I moved in middle school as well. It's a tough
you?
time. Yes, I moved to Meridian. Yeah,
Okay.
the other sort of, yeah.
A little suburb, yeah.
Little suburb of Boise there, not so little anymore. It was tough. Middle school's a tough time. Then you got to move across a bunch of states.
Yeah.
Was it tough for you?
It was really hard. Yeah, I mean, you asked my parents. Like, I was kicking and screaming on the way here, like just so depressed. I had so many good friends. I moved when I was almost 13 years old, going into 8th grade.
Yeah.
And that's like you have your whole life established, and I just didn't. Nobody knew what Idaho was. Like,
Right.
our neighbors were getting us books, Finding Your Path in Iowa. And people were like, where? I mean, they still don't know where it is, which is great. But so that was really challenging. Like, I didn't know anybody, and it's a tough age, as you know. Your formative years, you have to make all new friends right before high school, and I just was so different, right? Honestly, I was a brat. Like, ask any of my high school friends. You can drop it in the comments. I was just a little California girl. It was hard.
Then you went to, let me get this right, Eagle High School.
Yes.
Eagle has a high school now?
I thought you went to Eagle High School.
I did. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
But was it the year that it was built?
It was, how dare you? Yes, I am that old. Okay, transitioning nicely or not so nicely. You were a brat. When dinosaurs like me were roaming the halls, they had a pretty advanced media department there at Eagle High. Were you a part of that at all? How was it? How was it just being at Eagle?
Yeah, I actually didn't do broadcasting.
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to come in at 0 hour. I don't know if that's what I did. TV production, so I took
cool.
that elective, and that was like the precursor to the broadcasting. So that was really fun, and I had a great teacher. I don't know if he was there when you were there. Flavor? Gosh,
I think so. Yeah. Again, it was a while ago for me.
yeah. No, I'm not that far behind you. But
Yeah.
they had a great production department, but I just didn't want to come in at 0 hour.
Right.
When I got older. So
Who would? Yeah.
it's like 5 a.m. So anyway,
I ended
Eagle.
up taking a non-religious release hour first period my senior year.
They gave that to you?
No big deal. That's right. Yeah.
I thought it was only for seminary.
No, they had to give it to everyone, because if you didn't want to use it for seminary like I didn't, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sleep in. I don't sleep in anymore. But anyway,
Sure
sorry.
don't. You sure
Cheat
don't.
code for kids out there in West Ada.
That's right. I forgot. Yeah. Gosh, there's so many things I don't remember from high school. That was I think I got early release or something, or late start
Nice.
senior year.
Yeah.
And they implemented the blocks when we were there. But I loved Eagle, man. I had made the best friends of my life, Justin. I have a group of 12 best friends from high school still.
Cool.
We have a group chat. Most of them are born and raised in Eagle. A lot of them have left.
Nice.
A lot of them, like me, have come back or stayed. It was so fun. Like, we used to, have big bonfires and party in people's barns and go up to like the foothills, the BLM property, and camp out. And it just was like such a beautiful way to, as you know, a beautiful way to grow up, because you feel, compared to California, for example, you feel more sheltered. You feel like protected and safe. My parents weren't ever really concerned about me until I got a car and, became 16. But I think it was just like such a more like down-to-earth way to grow up. And I really, looking back, and even when I was in it, I really loved it.
Well, up next on this JustIN, how did Morgan actually catch that news bug, unless it was just Anchorman? Was that a documentary about Morgan that we didn't actually know the true story behind that? We're going to talk about it after the break. When last we left you here on this JustIN, we were talking to the Morgan Romero. She was graduating high school. But before we get into where you went to college, how did you get interested in news? How'd you catch the news bug?
It actually happened in high school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I was a drama kid my whole life. I was a childhood model. Not a lot of people know that.
What?
I was. I did a lot of acting, and a lot more like print and commercial ads, but almost landed a movie when I was 12.
Really? Anchorman?
Yes. They were going to cast me as Ron Burgundy, and then they realized she can't grow a mustache yet. So
they couldn't. And it's like, we don't want to spend the money to paste one on.
Exactly.
We'll just let Will do it.
Exactly. But yeah, I almost landed a movie, and then it didn't work out with the production, just didn't end up happening. But and then we moved to Idaho. But yeah, long story short, I loved drama. I loved theater. I had no problem being on stage. Like, I was always really, like, energetic. And as a kid, center of attention. Center of attention. Nothing's changed.
So you were like, how can I get paid
Yes.
to be the center of attention?
So it became that, and then but I always loved writing and reading. My science and math were never my strong suits, but I loved writing and reading, and I combined those things. And I was an athlete my whole life too. I played competitive in Olympic development soccer, and
Nice.
I was like, I'm going to go into sports broadcasting.
Yeah.
And so I went to a camp in DC, and it was called NSLC. You get invited if you get really good grades, and it's kids from all over the nation at American University. So I went to that going into I believe it was my senior year of high school, and I realized I don't know anything about sports. Like, I could talk about football. I played basketball too. I played lacrosse, but like, I don't know anything. And so it was encouraged to me to like maybe pursue investigative journalism, you know? And I was 16, and I was like, okay, cool, sure. So when I started applying to colleges, I was looking for broadcast departments, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And then I actually interned at Idaho Public Television.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
It was really cool. And I run into Jeff Tucker, the GM there, and he's the best. And he gave me like my first shot, and I interned on Marsha Franklin's show, as well as Joanne Cartan Hansen, and knew all those folks. And so that was a really good intro into broadcasting.
Fantastic. And then you went to University of Colorado. They produced some great journalists, Joe Paris excluded. We got a feud. He keeps trying to take over my show. No big deal.
This one?
Yeah, he calls it This Joe In. They even made a graphic for him and everything. Absolutely betrayed.
Doesn't work.
I'm glad.
It doesn't work.
Thank you, Morgan. Glad somebody has my back. But it had to be awesome.
Yeah.
Going to Boulder.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Boulder.
No, I've been to sort of that area, though. Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Like, one of the most beautiful college campuses. And I was
Yeah.
saying to you earlier, like, I was thinking about going to Mizzou, Syracuse, Northwestern. Mizzou ended up being, like, my dream for broadcast. All these places with good journalism programs.
Yeah, those are probably, like, the three premier journalism programs. Yeah.
I didn't want to go back to school in California. It just didn't seem appealing to me. I thought this is my one opportunity to go somewhere new. And then my mom was like, hey, Boulder was always my dream school. We should go check it out. And we had really good family friends there. And I went and toured, and it was like there was no competition at that moment. You drive over the hill and you see the Flatirons, and it was like such a magical experience. And I'm really outdoorsy, and I could go trail running every day. You know, it definitely had like a party scene, and, you know, marijuana became legal while I was there. It was like a whole thing, you know, that it didn't have the greatest reputation, but it was the journalism school, and the experiences and internships that I got coming out of that journalism school were really, really incredible.
Yeah. You also have a degree, or part of your degree, in sociology. Do you think that helps you in your current job? Or are you just taking some electives and you're like, I'll throw sociology on there as well?
No, you know, I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but you couldn't actually get a broadcast journalism major. I feel bad if I'm wrong about this, but it was either like a certificate or it had to be a degree in association with another degree.
Okay.
So sociology was my major.
Oh.
And broadcast was like my double major or my certificate or something.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So Soch was really good. I got really into one of my favorite classes was called Food and Society, and now I'm really into nutrition and health and and gender studies. And it was fundamental in helping me be, I think, a better journalist, a better human being, a better interviewer.
Yeah.
And just more empathetic.
Just understanding people, community, all that. Speaking of communities, you got your actual first job in Tyler, Texas.
Yes.
You did 4 months of a 2-year sentence there. How was your short time there? Sorry, people of Tyler, Texas, if you're watching. They're not. They don't have the internet.
No.
There. I'm just kidding.
No, it was an experience, man.
If that's all you need to say, that's fine.
No,
it's West Texas.
East Texas.
Is it East? Ooh, my bad.
Yeah.
Really sorry, people of Tyler.
They're both, they both are different, and have their unique. It's interesting because my family's originally from Texas. They migrated from Mexico to Texas on my grandpa's side.
Okay.
And so we had some roots there. My dad is from Shreveport, Louisiana.
Nice.
And Tyler is really close to Louisiana. So that was part of our market. So my dad was like, it's kind of pretty. I would going from Boulder to East Texas. Sure was a wake-up call. And this was during the primaries in 2015, which was...
I recall them. Interesting time.
Interesting times. So it was really, it was not the experience I really wanted. It was a struggle. Some of the stories we were covering, I was like, how is this news? But I learned a lot, and I was able to make mistakes. And back then, KTVB wasn't hiring people straight out of college. It just wasn't really their MO. And so they were able to see that I had some experience, and I'd made some big mistakes, as we do when we start out.
Right.
And I was able to get that over with and learn lessons in Tyler. And then KTVB hired me, and I claim to have started here.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah.
What was it like coming back, working at the station that you grew up watching?
I mean, you probably understand this too, right? It's like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
You feel like everyone and their mom literally is watching you fail or grow.
Yeah.
And I was so young. I was 22 years old when I started out here. And it just felt like a lot of pressure. But I think what the beautiful thing was, Justin, and you can attest to this, is that because this is our home, it's our community, we care so much about it, the story ideas were flowing. And people were coming to me with great pitches, and I felt like I was really making a difference in the community. And I was living in Eagle with my mom the whole time I was here, the first stint. And I felt like that community, Meridian, Eagle, Nampa, that was kind of like underrepresented. And just by driving around, I was getting really good story ideas.
Yeah.
And by like being on Nextdoor and like being involved in suburb life, like I was getting great ideas about the new Winco, the new Costco going in, what's going on with the Board of Trustees. And so that was really, really helpful. And I think it's what set me up for success, because when you go to a new market, take Tyler, for example, you were in Missouri, it takes a really long time to learn that market, to develop sources, to understand what's newsworthy and valuable to people, what's relevant and relatable. And I felt like I really understood that after like a year in, which made it pretty amazing.
And then a few years later, you decided to do it all over again, headed to Portland, Oregon. A very interesting time there.
Yeah.
As well. What was that like being in Portland during I don't know if you'd call it unrest, but
yeah,
all sorts of stuff.
Listen, I go hard for Portland. See this camera?
Here you are.
I love Portland. Two things can be true. Somewhere can have a lot of issues and deal with a lot of societal problems, but also be such a beautiful place. And I mean, again, we're really outdoorsy. I loved the access to the gorge and the wineries and the coast and Mount Hood, and you're so close to Washington. Yeah. You can do everything in Oregon, and I loved Portland as a news market because I was there during the riots after George Floyd, the peaceful protests as well as the not so peaceful ones that caused a lot of destruction in the city. I was there during a really, really peak time in the homeless crisis. I was there during COVID. Yeah. I was there during massive, devastating wildfires that really just showed how climate change is impacting the Northwest. And so I think I got an incredible experience in Portland that really set me up for like any situation. And I loved my time there, and I grew so much as a journalist. And KGW, which is our sister station there, is a great shop. Like I was shooting, writing, and editing my own stuff by the end of it, doing investigative stories, doing enterprise stories, anchoring, doing it all. And so I really loved it.
And then you got the opportunity to come back to KTVB, not only as a reporter, but to take over for who I called on, 2 episodes ago, the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Johnson. You already talked a little bit about the pressure. Did you feel even more pressure than taking over for MJ?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Talk about the real Ron Burgundy. Like, oh my gosh.
He was, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, so many changes have happened. Like in just the time I was here, my first go around here was when Carolyn had retired. And then when I was gone, Dee Sarton retired. Yeah. And then when I came back, Mark was retiring, and that's why I came back. And huge shoes to fill. I mean, Mark is who I grew up watching. Like, I sat in my living room with my parents and watched Mark Johnson on the news. And so it was like kind of a surreal thing to be able to step in and say, like, this is the next generation of people who are going to lead KTVB into the future. I mean, huge loss because I really look up to Mark, and he's just such a staple in this newsroom. And so, yeah, I mean, I did feel a lot of pressure. And I actually was coming in and I was anchoring the 4 and 6 and doing investigative. And then Kim Fields decided to step away from news, and that's how I got the 10 o'clock. So then I moved to Nightside, which I've worked for most of my career now.
You talked about being an investigative reporter here. Of course, is there one story that you're most proud of, or a slew of them, or just sort of overall having that sort of impact on your community, our community? And looking deep into those.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. I think investigative reporting is one of the most valuable aspects of local journalism. And I've done so many different stories over the years. I really am proud of the work that Kevin Esslinger, Brian Holmes, and I did on the Idaho Freedom Foundation. I came back, and that was like one of the first in-depth stories that I tackled, focused on their kind of outsized influence in politics in the state. And I think it's really important to make people aware of who has that kind of power in our state and power over lawmakers.
Yes, and what's going on behind the scenes there at the State House, making those laws, creating those laws. I talked about all the awards you've won, Press Club, State Broadcasters Awards, Murrow Awards, super prestigious.
Thank you.
What's your view of just sort of awards overall?
That is such a good question. Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, he's a journalist, of course. You know, Justin, well, congrats to you. I don't know if you've mentioned it, but on your Murrow.
I may have just set that up, talking about how prestigious those Murrows are. I did just win one.
He did. He did for a really good talking about extremism in our state, kind of similar to the Idaho Freedom Foundation's stories. And it's really important that we peel back the curtain on that. I think awards are an amazing thing. I don't want to downplay them. You know, I've won Emmys, I've won Murrows, and I feel really good about those. They are subjective.
Yes.
I think Emmys way more so than Murrows. Idaho State Press Club Awards, Broadcasters Association, way more subjective. The regional Edward R. Murrow Awards, I think, for me, are like one of the highest, I think for all journalists, one of the highest honors and recognitions you can get, and I value that. But I just try to remember, if I win, it's, you know, heck yeah, they recognize my talent. If I don't, it's like, oh, it's subjective. You know?
But also the fact that you're in the position that you're in speaks to the kind of work you do every single day.
Yeah.
For our community.
Well, and I think like the heart, you know, we don't do it for the awards, and I think that's something that we always have to remember. Like, viewers don't necessarily care, right? It's more of like,
and they don't really know the difference between a press club, ISBA,
No, and it's more for like us, and it's like an industry thing, and it's like, wow, our work was valued, our work was recognized. Of course, I want to keep striving for more and for higher and forever, you know?
Well, next up, I'm going to ask Morgan to try to convince me that one of her hobbies is not insane. That's next on This Just In. Welcome back to This Just In with the Morgan Romero. Morgan, let's talk about your hobbies. They include a lot of active stuff: hiking, biking, rafting, camping, exploring in the Northwest, and exercising, including hot yoga. What is hot yoga?
Have you done hot yoga?
I just get hot eating. So no.
Me too. I'm literally sweating right now.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm nervous. Okay, hot yoga. It depends where you go, but every like temperature ranges. But I often like to take classes that are like 60% humidity, 105 to 110 degrees.
Oh,
I know. It feels so good. It's like a detox for your body. You burn a lot of calories. You're like, I don't know. There's some controversy over whether it like makes people stretch too far and make themselves too flexible when they really can't, because you are more like bendable and flexible.
Loose when you're warmer.
But I love it. But I think the most psycho thing is not only do I do hot yoga, I teach hot sculpt, and I take hot sculpt classes, and that's a HIIT class in about 100 degrees, 50 to 60% humidity. And you're like running around, you know, you're jumping, you're doing squats, you're lifting weights, you're doing jumping jacks. That's, I think, crazy.
So I already sweat a whole lot like crazy just working out in my garage in pajama pants and dress socks, because I don't want people to see me in that state.
Oh, come on.
I don't want to be at the gym, you know, in my undershirt pajama pants, dress socks, and it's like,
You could probably
is that Justin Core's
You
uglier, sweatier brother? Who is that?
You should
It's
change if you go to the gym. You should not wear that.
Well, no, that's also why I work out at home. So, can you convince me otherwise that maybe hot sculpt or hot yoga is a good idea?
You just
I mean, you seem to be in great shape.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's a great advertisement. I didn't want to suggest otherwise.
Thank you. I'm so active. Well, I have rheumatoid arthritis. And so, I've struggled with that since I was I think I got diagnosed at 24. And so for me, finding something that was good for my joints was really important. I was a big runner. Like I said, I was an athlete, and I can't do that really anymore. So I've gotten really into biking, road biking, and I've gotten really into hot yoga sculpt. And it is still high impact, but it's just, you should try it. It's fun. The music is bumping. The lights are going. It's like a party. You build this incredible community because you're all just dying together. And I love it. You should come take one of my classes.
I don't know if you've convinced me, but you made a great case.
Thank you.
Has she convinced you? Text questions or comments to 208-321-5614. Use the hashtag Justin.
I'll reply.
Morgan, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you next time here on This Just In.